I lost my job. As I had already announced during the time period where the account actually was private, proceeding on the Monday of that week, at my work, I was accused of violence. I was accused of violence because the individual in question, who decided to accuse me, an older black woman, had been confronted by me in front of my super because she had been harassing and effectively, regularly, insulting me at my job and place of work. I brought her in front of the super because I knew that if I did so, she could not lie and say that I made a threat against her life. Instead, she just simply waited later into the shift, waiting until there was nobody around to hear her make an accusation, and she then accused me 3 times in 3 separate places, all of which have been proven false, but it did not matter. Use the fact that I was a person being employed by a staffing agency to get me out of the business with a technicality. There was an accusation made, the accusation was made of harassment, therefore you lose your job. Because of the way that this works with my staffing agency, this also made me lose my enrollment with the staffing agency proper. Now the agency is doing what they can to be able to overturn this, but as of several weeks before, I don't have a job. That's the bad news. Let me tell you about the good news. Throughout the last week and upwards until maybe the second week of January, I have parts arriving. I'm going to be putting together my new computer. I'll be having to do it by hand, something I've never done before. I'm hoping that I don't break anything. But once that is done, there are several things in motion that are happening that I'd like to be able to announce, but I won't until they are done. For the most part, what I can tell you is that I'm going to be bringing my podcast back. Dopkick is now going to become the Fried Screenery proper. It's going to be rehosted through not Streamlabs, but through Restream. Same setup that I used before for my other streams. Before, I received affiliate on Twitch to be able to have a regular weekly live show. It's going to be audience interaction as well as proper paneling. I don't have a set host panel. I don't have permanent hosts. Before, I had been experimenting with the model of being able to have guest panelists and being able to go over topics that happen on a regular basis with people who also could bring forth their own subjects to have discussed. I like this model, and I want to go forward with this model, because not only is it going to be necessary, but one of the most important things that I've noticed is there are people who are lazy, who don't pay attention, effectively are passing judgment on news stories uncritically, and tied to the fact that you have regular algorithmic deplatformation and demotion of people's content if they choose to cover anything in any case basis on YouTube. It is with my interest that if I want to do what I've wanted to do, which is always focus on streaming, but also have the creation as something to do as projects, I want to be able to beat that algorithmic demotation. I have to put my content on another platform entirely, and I have to populate it with my audience. Since we've started, since a year and a half ago, we have grown significantly. It's no small feat to go from 21 followers on Twitter to then what we have now as 3.2, if not 3.1 followers. It is an achievement to go from relatively nothing to what we have now, pushing 600 subscribers. I'd like to hit that to 1,000. I'd like to double that number, triple that number, quadruple that number within the next year alone. This year has been a punishment in all the ways that matter, but at the same time, all of these things have only been made possible because of viewers like you. And because of haters like you. Thank you, and fuck you, respectively. It's not gonna happen on its own. I've said this before. I said this all the way back with the black pill of creativity and with not economically existing. no matter what I choose to do, I have to do it, and I have to believe in it more than other people will. Because we're at a point where anything that I do is going to always be casted off, right? Ever since the cornfield tried to destroy my platform by accusing me of supposed transphobia and of dead naming, so they could get me destroyed on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch all at once with a blind accusation that was made immediately false. It is clear that if I want to be able to prevent something like that from happening, it's not going to happen with me relying on other people to speak my truth for me. I have to grow my platform so that when this happens, there are more than enough people with their eyes on the situation that when I talk about it, they're not going to be able to ignore it. They can't throw it away. They can't pretend that it didn't happen. And best off, when they say with their own mouths what they're going to do, I can replay that on a live stream of multiple people, allow them to document it freely as they want, and ipso facto it's done. I don't need, nor am I going to continue trying to fight these battles in a way that requires me to have to rely on someone else to tell my story, someone else to say what I want, someone else to speak for me. And at the same time, while I'm doing this shit, you can look forward to seeing videos drop on a semi-current basis. I'm stuck at home anyways. Nothing else I can do. It sucks. Oh yes, indeed it fucking sucks. It sucks to lose what effectively was $500 a week and was $1,000 every fortnight. I intended on using that job to get healthcare. I intended on having that job for several years, if that business could stay afloat. It was life-changing money, and it was snatched out of my mouth because I finally stood up for myself. There's been a lot of that happening. People trying to snatch things out of my mouth while taunting me, openly and privately, while talking dog shit about me. Part of my job is that I have to take the swings and the arrows. That's fine. But I'm tired of having someone else do shit to me, and those who call themselves friends do nothing, or say nothing, while talking about absolutely nothing. I dealt with this with Smug Roko. I dealt with this with a couple of other people. I dealt with this even for Poe with Burner. Effectively, I'm gonna make shit work. I have to be the one that goes out and do it, and does it. Because otherwise, it's not gonna be done. I hate the fact that I have to say that aloud, but it's the reality of the thing. And I cannot do with fantasies and fiction. So, that's the plan. You can't see it, but the parts are over there in the corner. Actually, parts. Right there in the corner. When everything else gets here, then we can move on to the next step in the next phase. That's where I'm at right now. There's been a lot of you that have been giving me well wishes and support, and I thank you for that. There's been some of you who have offered me your money, apropos of nothing, and I thank you for that too, especially the one who recently donated. And you know who you are, because you're the reason that I'm able to get the last part. You're also the reason I was able to eat this week. I don't like having to live like this. I don't consider myself an emotional Vegeta, but I don't like having to ask for help. I like lifting myself up by my own fucking weight. If anything, this has to be seen as an opportunity. I intended on working myself and putting in the effort to get to where I wanted, but now it seems I've been offered an opportunity to actually put my boots to the fucking grindhouse and put my sword to the wheel. What I was going to get fairly with my own hands, I now have to entertain myself to getting. It's not really a challenge, but I guess you could say it's a challenge of my own charisma. Proving that I can do it, but not just proving that I can do it, proving I can do it on a camera with my hands over the table. I consider myself a prestigiarian in that way, a magician. But where most people would prefer to do sleight of hand and jeering, I intend on using the opposite. Fighting fire with hellfire, effectively. If anything, this year, if not these last 2 years, if not these last 9 months, if not these last 3 months, They've been a test for futility. See if I actually had what it takes. I remember thinking like this when Natalie Casanova tried it. I've been thinking like this a lot since the Cornfield tried it. Very much, at least, when Jake's own audience tried to make a running attempt to assassinate me. It made me angry in a way that I'm not comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with being that angry because I don't like giving people the ability to affect my emotions, regardless of whatever actions happen. Most of all, I feel angry with myself that I allowed it to happen. But realistically, there's nothing I could have done. What's done is done. Hopefully, I can be able to get another job. Also, hopefully, I hope that my staffing agency can at least overturn what had been done so they can be able to place me elsewhere. Now I've had a taste of the big leagues, as it were. Now I get to see if I have what it takes to pull myself out of this. I'll let you know what's new next time something new happens. Till then, Shabbat Shalom, bitches. I'm not all together. Not really. I'm not fine. I'm not sure if I'll be fine. But I'm not dead yet. Bye. I'm gonna go to sleep now.